Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2. I'm your host, Dan Wyatt.
And I'm your other host, Ryan Gillespie. We're far from qualified, and this is Into the Conjurverse. All right, welcome back, everybody. It is episode 2 of this thing that we're trying to do. Last week was a lot of fun. We're actually recording this after episode 1 has come out, so we've got some.
Naturally. I think that's how it works most of the time.
Some listening stats and things. So we really appreciate the listens and the engagement. We wanted to just shout out our first listener that wasn't us two. It was some listener from Ann Arbor, Michigan. So if there's a chance that you're listening to this, shout out to you from Ann Arbor.
Yeah, you're amazing. like DM us, we'll get you some FFQ like merch or something.
Because we totally have merch.
No, we'll make it though. We'll make it just for them.
Yeah, that's really cool start to this whole thing to see listens from all over the world actually. So
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So this week we're going to be breaking down Annabelle Creation. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, there was another shout out that we wanted to make. Did you want to?
Oh, yeah. Jessica and Josh, you guys are insane. Some might say stupid. But thank you so much. I love you. And yeah, beautiful human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't met you, but you sound great. So yeah, so like I said, this week is Annabelle Creation. We're going to be first breaking down the plot of the movie, sort of in a quick summary. And then we'll try to get into some of the sort of the actual origin story of Annabelle.
Yeah, we're still learning. I mean, we realized that the first episode was pretty long and that we went through pretty much the entire movie, like almost scene by scene. Not quite, but basically. So we're trying not to do that this time. We're going to try to trim it down a bit and just get the high points and the key parts of the story.
Yeah, and we have a little bit more to talk about in this episode, because The Nun was sort of almost... It was basically entirely fiction.
Well, I don't think we have more to talk about, though.
We have some. There's an actual real life doll called Annabelle. Spoiler
That's
alert.
true. Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So, why don't you want to let's just get right into it. Annabelle Creation was released in 2017 as a prequel to 2014's Annabelle film that did really well, and that was the 4th film actually in the Conjuring franchise.
The universe, the Conjurverse, bro. Jeez, you can't even kind of get the branding right.
So yeah, so it was directed by David F. Sandberg, written by Gary Dauberman, and produced by Peter Safran and our boy James Wan.
Our boy.
And so
I know him personally.
Yeah, absolutely. The film stars Stephanie Sigmund as Sister Charlotte, Talitha Bateman as Janice, Lulu Wilson as Linda. Those are two main little girls in the movie, and then Anthony LaPaglia as Samuel Mullins.
Do we know like those actors? Like, have we seen them in anything notable?
I haven't.
Yeah, okay.
I think Janice actually played in another horror movie the year before it came out. I did see something about that. So one viewer had a tough time disconnecting her from that character from the horror movie.
Yeah.
I think it was Ouija. It was like about a...
Okay. Yeah, I remember it coming out. Didn't watch it. But yeah, no, I have no idea who these actors are. Yeah, and I had no idea. All I can say is that Mr. Mullins is a mishmash of like Aaron Rodgers and Mike Vrabel. But that's beside the point.
Yeah, he did. I think he actually did a really good job. He was.
Oh, fantastic.
I loved his voice, just as part of his performance.
Very good voice.
The movie had a production budget of $15 million and then brought in over $306 million worldwide at the box office.
Really low again. That's a really low budget. I mean, because I guess we stay in the one central location and the main antagonist is a doll, right?
Yeah.
So that's really good, actually. Yeah. These movies have like crushed box office.
Yeah.
That's why there's 8 of them, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if you haven't seen the movie and you want to, obviously I mentioned we're going to go into the plot in some detail, and then talk about sort of the real life events. So there are going to be spoilers, in this episode, as with all of our episodes. So if you want to see it, it's available to stream on, HBO Max, DirecTV. You can rent it on Vudu, Redbox. It's also on AMC theaters on demand.
Let's go.
Shout out AMC.
Go see a movie at AMC because they're dying. They lost millions and millions and millions of dollars last year. So go see a movie with some friends.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wear a mask too, probably. I don't know. COVID is a bitch. But
Thank you for that, Dan. We needed your stance on that.
You're welcome.
So, and then just additionally, as we mentioned last week, these movies do have some graphic scenes, and that we're going to discuss, and that you'll see if you watch the movie. So you can actually sort of Google each movie's trigger warnings. If you go to you can Google it or go to the doesthedogdie.com. That's doesthedogdie.com. It actually has all of the trigger warnings you could ever want or need in your life, as well as it'll tell you if the dog dies.
Yeah. It was originally like crowdfunded to, kind of as a meme, but, to say if a movie has a dog dying, because people hate that in movies.
Yeah, it should never be in a movie ever.
Well,
no movie should ever have
some of them.
I Am Legend, worst movie ever made.
Sometimes it's good for world building, okay, character development, but yeah, it evolved into like literally if there's a trigger in the movie, it'll list it.
Yeah.
So it's an awesome website. Actually, I don't really have that issue with things, but I know people do. So yeah, I think that's a really cool website.
Yeah, if you have that issue, go there now and then come back if you still think that you can handle some of those things.
Yeah.
Well, that we'll talk about. So, yeah, that's a great resource. So I think we can probably jump right into the plot summary.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just reiterate, like last week, like The Nun, this almost this entire movie is sort of just fiction and not based on true events. So that's just a disclaimer. So we'll go through what's in the movie and then the true events.
It's just it's another case of the movie's doing so well that they had to just make a prequel for the sake of making a prequel and making $300 million more.
That's a good reason.
Yeah. I would do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
James Wan's like, yes, sir. What can we do now?
So, Annabelle Creation. The movie opens in 1943. We see a doll maker. It's Mr. Samuel Mullins making some really creepy porcelain dolls. And we eventually see his wife Esther and their 7-year-old daughter B. And then we soon are able to witness
very quick
the tragic accidental death of B as she steps in front of a car. And we see, that's sort of like the first thing we're presented with for the movie. So an instant loss of a child.
Don't get me wrong. Child death, not funny.
No.
But that scene, hilarious.
Very funny.
Yeah. I mean, because, Esther goes, hey, look out. There's a car coming.
Yeah.
Girl, what did she even go to pick up?
I think Mr. Mullins was changing the flat tire and...
Oh, he lost a nut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nut was in the middle of the road. She just,
I'll get it.
Yeah. Track star ran out in the middle of the road and got demolished in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Pretty funny, but sad. Poor B. Rip.
So we immediately fast forward to 12 years later, 12 years after her death, and the Mullins have decided to open their home to provide shelter for some orphans. So like 6 orphan girls, led by... is she a nun, I guess? Sister Charlotte?
Yeah, she's a nun.
Yeah, Sister Charlotte, who...
Most orphanages originally were run by the church and nuns, so...
Yeah. So we see them, the girls being introduced to their home. We find out that the wife, Esther, she's bedridden due to some accident, and she has sort of a mask over her left eye. She's kind of kept away in her room. She hasn't been able to walk, etc. And so Mr. Mullins gives the girls sort of a tour of the house. And at this point, we see Janice, who is one of our main characters in the movie. She has polio, so she struggles to walk. She has a brace on one of her legs. And so there's actually a stair lift, that can take her to the upstairs, and they try it out and everything. And just actual, fun fact about stair lifts, they were like first produced commercially and like advertised and sold in the 1930s in the U.S. And actually many users at the time were victims of polio. So it's kind of a...
So it was a historical, it's like, that's true. I mean, he didn't make it for polio, however. Well, we don't know. We don't know why she's bedridden.
Yeah.
But it fits for the times. And then a girl with polio uses it because, all the girls are going to be staying upstairs in bedrooms.
Yep. So in the tour, Mr. Mullins just mentions that none of the girls should go into B's bedroom, which is locked, and still in the upstairs. They stay in a room sort of adjacent to it. But soon into their stay, Janice she actually finds a note that says "Find me," which is a callback to one of the first scenes that we.
There were some there was a few scenes before we saw the horrific accident of them playing with B, and she would leave notes around the house.
The Mullins, the parents were playing with their daughter.
Yeah, the Mullins would play, and she would leave notes around the house and hide. It's kind of like advanced hide and seek with clues.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we get a call back to that. Janice finds that note saying "Find me." She sneaks into B's room, which is unlocked.
For some reason.
Yeah. Mysteriously unlocked.
It was like super locked, and Mr. Mullins made a very explicit point that this is locked, do not go in there.
I think as she passed it, a note did come out from underneath the door saying, in here. She goes in, she finds this dollhouse that's a replica of the home that we see that they're staying in. She finds a key and quickly realizes that key opens a closet in B's room. And as she opens the closet, we see none other than the doll we know as Annabelle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the porcelain nasty doll that Mr. Mullins was making at the beginning.
Right. So this scene, in my opinion, was one of the best spooky scenes, one of the best scenes of the movie, because we get like some shots behind Janice as she's kind of exploring the dollhouse and exploring the room. After she sort of opened the closet and saw the Annabelle doll sitting in the chair, she kind of closes it and then moves away, and we see behind her the door continues to open again. It opens 2 or 3 times. Yeah. So much so she gets creeped out, as she should have been. It should happen more in scary movies.
She kept closing it because she was like, wow, that's scary as hell. I'm not going in there.
Yeah. So she grabs a sheet, she throws it over the doll, but doesn't close the door this time. So it gives us this great shot of, as we're looking, behind Janice, we see the covered up doll stand up and walk towards her slowly, and then once she sees it, it continues to walk until the sheet is ripped off of it, and it's
we see at the feet, like it looks like feet are slowly stepping on the sheet, and it slowly falls down and then reveals nothing, but Janice is thoroughly spooked.
Yeah, no, excellent scene. I think that was one of my favorite scenes of the movie.
Yeah, it was very good for sure.
So just quick note as well. We watched this movie together, and we kind of made some notes as it was going along. I just wanted to say here, though, that when these kind of things happen in real life, I would never enter that room again. If that happened to me, it would be the end of my experience with that doll and this house, and I would do everything I could to get away. But for our sake, they keep the.
Yeah, all she did was she didn't even scream. She ran back to her bedroom because Mr. Mullins heard some commotion from that activity, and he was coming up to check on them, and she got back in her bed in time, so he didn't see anybody up. So she actually persists enough that she goes back another night, and we actually see B, or the ghost or form or the girl. Apparition of B, yeah. And as Janice sort of approaches behind and says, "Hey, are you B? Are you their daughter?" We see that B kind of turns around, and it's sort of a demon, and she says she wants Janice's soul. And this ensues this sort of fight scene between her or chase scene between her and the demon, where she gets into the stair lift and tries to go down, and it gets the demon kind of calls the stair lift back up, and it's really suspenseful until she's finally kind of hurled up into the air and falls down to the first floor. Yeah. Does she ever put her seatbelt on? Because the whole hilarious thing about the stair lift was that you had to have your seatbelt clicked for it to activate. Yep. So she spent 20 seconds struggling with the button to go down, but she hadn't put her seatbelt on. Yeah. But so I think she finally does, but then she gets ejected out of it. So I don't know if she had taken it off at that point or what. I think she did unbuckle it as she's being recalled back up the stair lift. Yeah, she was trying to escape, and then she got straight up ejected out of a fighter jet. Yeah, it was funny as hell. Yeah. And so obviously she falls down to the first floor, and sort of as the house wakes up, they all think that she just fell down the stairs, even though she tells her best friend Linda, who's another little girl, that it was a demon and she didn't just fall. So then soon after, Janice continues to be sort of tormented by this demon. She's she's wheelchair bound now after that fall. And so the demon sort of posed as Sister Charlotte, the nun, sort of, pushes Janice into an old barn outside, and then sort of in the form of B, the little girl, sort of attacks her and kind of possesses her by... Oh, disgustingly, pins her down and then vomits black demon ooze into her mouth.
Yeah.
It's the only way to be possessed, I think, because that's just yummy, you know?
Yep. And then the funny thing is, that in the days prior to that event, Janice was telling her friend Linda, there's a demon here. We need to watch out. We need to leave, and these things like that. And then after they find Janice in the barn, after she's been possessed, but unbeknownst to them, she says, her behavior kind of changes, and it's really weird. And Linda quickly notices that.
Yeah, she tells Sister Charlotte that she's like, she's telling the girls. She's telling the other girls, she's like, something is wrong with Janice. She's like, she was freaking out, wanting to leave.
Yep.
She said that, the ghost of the daughter is haunting her and trying to get her. And, it's basically like telling a ghost story in the dark to the rest of the foster kids. But
whenever she told that story to Mr. Samuel Mullins, he quickly realizes... he basically flips out because that doll was not, that room was not supposed to be entered, and that doll especially was not supposed to be.
He has no clue.
Yeah, he didn't know any of this, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he freaks out on her, and he's like, there's no way, that doll is locked up, that doll has never been touched, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so this conversation happens on the front porch, him and Linda, he happens to be holding a crucifix.
He had a crucifix that he was carving, whittling earlier in the movie.
Yeah,
I do that sometimes. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I whittle every other Thursday.
Crucifixes specifically. I hang them upside down in my house, but
mine are right side up. So.
Okay.
So Mr. Mullins quickly, goes in the house with the crucifix, and as he walks past the dining room, Annabelle is sitting in the chair, and he's we're kind of starting to see this is not new to him, sort of this experience, and so he sort of begins to realize what's going on, and we see a shot of the into the dark hallway. We see sort of an apparition of B that kind of transforms and grows. It's a really cool shot too.
I think that was other than another bit we'll talk about in a minute, that one was the coolest, and I wish it would have lasted longer because it's one of the horror movie scenes where the hallway gets super, super dark and you can't see anything. There's no shadows. It's pitch black. And it slowly faded to that as Janice's body crunched and grew to an inhuman size, and all you saw were her eyes.
Yeah, white glowing eyes of the demon.
That was cool as hell.
It was cool, and that was also I really I enjoyed that scene because it was Mullins versus this demon, and you see him hold up the crucifix, and it kind of shows you sort of the power of this demon when it's able to take his fingers one at a time and kind of break them back.
Yeah, disgustingly crunch them backwards
till the crucifix drops, and then once I think it was Sister Charlotte that came inside and saw the demon actually unfortunately killed Mr. Mullins, who was there lying on the ground. Now, this was sort of I kind of noted as we watched this was kind of an abrupt jump because he was, he faced the demon and then just
died immediately.
Yeah, just as soon as he did that, he died, and he's being driven away in a hearse. And again, this is another moment where if this was real life and we and that sort of event happened, I'd be as far away from this house as possible.
Yeah, and Sister Charlotte, as the hearse is going away, she's just like, well, we'll wait till morning and we'll figure something out. No, I would be walking to the, because they're pretty far out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. But what you were saying about it being abrupt, but Mr. Mullins did have, he obviously had recollection, and whenever he freaked out and said she was locked away, and just a note about the room that she was found in, that closet. In the closet, the walls were completely lined with Bible pages, they were. They were pasted to the walls, and then a crucifix was in the middle of the room as well. So, it kind of alludes that obviously he placed her there in that crazy biblical room on purpose.
Yep.
And then, once he has to face her once again after however long it's been, he just immediately dies. So.
Yeah. So, Linda is, seems to be the only one that cares enough to take action against this because she was close with Janice, and Janice had told her that something about that doll was off. So Linda actually takes the Annabelle doll and takes it out into the field and throws it into the well. And as she does this, Sister Charlotte kind of approaches and tries to bring her back inside. As she throws the doll in, though, she's almost kind of dragged into the well by some arms that we can't see the origin, but she's
some detached arms. We don't know what it is.
Yeah. And Sister Charlotte saves her, and then this was enough to kind of set Sister Charlotte off enough to go and confront Esther, who's the wife and the mom, who has been locked in the room. And so she explains that, shortly after B's death, they felt so much grief. They prayed to whatever entity that they could that would sort of grant them that wish, or their need to see their daughter again, right? So when an unknown sort of entity kind of answered their prayer, they began to see B's spirit here and there throughout the house, and to hear little things or feel her presence throughout, and then it just escalated more and more from there to the point where they would a record player would play her favorite song, and
the Sunshine song. She
would You Are My Sunshine. You would see, that was a good thing throughout the movie. They would see sort of her playing with the Annabelle doll. But soon after, it soon became a lot more active and sort of took turns for the worse, right? And they realized it wasn't their bee at all, but it was a demon, and it was looking for a host. So they so one night, Esther, the mom, she actually saw the spirit transforming into the demon, and and then the demon actually kind of took a swipe at her, and we later see that it actually had gouged out her eye, left a pretty bad wound on her face, and that's why she was wearing the mask.
I don't know if like a huge scar like that would look the way it did. But I think that's just the supernatural side of it, because it was a demon that left that mark, so it was like charred black. Her
strange.
eye was just an empty abyss. But that has to just be the supernatural.
So Esther tells Charlotte that they then enlisted the help of priests, and they blessed the house, and they locked the doll, the Annabelle doll, in that closet, and lined like Dan said, lined the walls with those Bible pages. And so that that was 12 years ago, and so it being that long, they decided they wanted to sort of open their house as a shelter, almost to repent, for their actions.
That was their penance.
Yeah, exactly. And she now says she regrets that, obviously, because it just kind of gave the demon another opportunity to find a human host.
Yeah, and we don't really get an explanation as to how it resurfaced, because they waited 12 years, and they had 12 years of basically radio silence. So we kicked it off with Janice being targeted, probably because she's physically weaker. I don't know, maybe. And like the notes thing. So not really sure what allowed the demon to get out of its little biblical jail cell. But it did somehow, maybe
plot convenience.
Plot convenience is super, super effective in
absolutely.
These movies. But I can't think of another reason other than that.
So we're getting into the climax of the movie. It's sort of the demon versus the world here, right? So it quickly things begin to kind of move quickly, and Esther, the demon, kind of murders Esther and tries to attack Sister Charlotte, and there's the orphans fortunately kind of frantically leave the house, all except for Linda, who kind of gets kind of left behind.
She's getting targeted by the demon who is possessed Janice. So we get all the other girls they dipped out, they're out of the house, and then Linda's being chased around and mocked by the demon. So that was a great point. So the demon in sort of Janice's body, who and obviously, she can now walk too. That was a big thing. She stood up in front of the orphan girls,
and they're like, "Nope, gotta see."
"Whoa,
gotta go."
She can walk, bro.
So she's kind of has a knife and is kind of chasing Linda around. She gets in a dumbwaiter and kind of hides, and then we see some demon hands and stuff, and that try to get her out of there. So sort of at the end of the fight, just as Janice, or the demon as Janice, we'll just call her Janice, as soon as she tries to kind of stab and kill Linda, Sister Charlotte kind of stops her with a rosary, puts a rosary around her, and hands her the Annabelle doll, throws them both into the closet with the Bible lining, and sort of locks it away. We see the house sort of shake and violently, and the lights flicker and all these things until it kind of goes dead. And then
all the lights just burst, and then Charlotte and Linda had ran out of the house, and they're just watching this happen, and it's got that frantic demon scream kind of going on.
It's shaking like crazy.
Classic.
So then, we see the next day, and it might have been night. It might have been night because I think they have flashlights and things, or maybe it was just the lights.
Yeah. They called. So the girls, the orphan girls that had gotten outside, they had called for help.
Yeah,
and they said it was maybe 20 minutes or 30
so
minutes away.
all this happened.
So
yeah,
the final moments of the chase, and then the locking Janice in the closet, and then the house exploding
happened really quickly.
Yeah, happened within 20 minutes, because then after all that happened, help arrived.
Yeah, the police showed up, and they searched the house, and they searched the room specifically and decided to open the door to see what's in the closet. And it was, only Annabelle. Mm-hmm. And there's a hole gouged out of the back of the closet, sort of into the house where we,
just past that wall. It looked, and it was similar to like a dog, like scratching and like chewing through something. It just looked like an animal had broken
Janice
through it.
Is nowhere to be.
Yeah, and Janice is just gone. Yeah, no clue.
So the officers they take the doll, and then we actually see sort of a skip forward to another orphanage, and it's sort of another day, right? Mm-hmm. And we see a couple entering to adopt, and the little girl that they're introduced to is Janice. Mm-hmm. And as she sort of turns around and reveals who she is, she says, "Hi, I'm Annabelle." Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a cool little scene. That family turns out to be the Higgins family, and then we get another skip 12 years later, and we see sort of in their home, we see the progress of her growing up. She's kind of a young adult now, and we see her and then some unknown man enter the parents' room in the middle of the night and kill them.
Yep.
And
stab the hell out of them
with enough veracity, and racket to wake up the neighbors. And so we see sort of from the neighbors' perspective, them going to the house, and that's sort of the end of the movie, I think, setting us up for
Annabelle.
Yeah,
because this is a direct prequel to the first Annabelle.
Yeah. So all in all, it was interesting enough. I did enjoy it more than The Nun. What about you?
Oh yeah, no, much years ahead of The Nun in terms of just being a movie, because the plot was definitely better, but at the same time, it was just better written. There's better, better scenes, better everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you want to give our ratings now, or you want to wait till after we dig into a little bit of the real life?
Yeah,
stuff?
we could rate it
okay.
for sure.
What would you give? I think
out of 10.
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't want to give it too high, because I don't know, probably 7.5, 7.5.
Yeah, this one for me is a 7.7.
Well then.
Yeah, I think it's not an 8. I would say 8 gets into.
I want to know where those 0.2 of a point came from, bro.
Well, we could talk about it after this.
Yeah,
but
okay.
the 8 gets you into like a really really good movie.
That's fantastic.
9 is great, and 10, obviously best you can get.
Yeah,
so
I don't think any movie. Well, no, I take that back. Never mind. I'm not gonna speak for future episodes. There might be an episode with a 10. I don't
sure.
know.
Yeah. So that was sort of the rundown of Annabelle Creation, and that's sort of the Conjurverse's origin story of Annabelle. And let's dive into a little bit of the actual origin story of the real life doll named Annabelle, right? So
yeah, unfortunately, not a ton of similarities from this origin story.
Yeah, as you'll see. So fun fact: the actual Annabelle doll from real life, according to Ed and Lorraine, was a Raggedy Ann doll. So the story, per Ed and Lorraine, right, was that in 1970. This nursing student named Donna, she got this Raggedy Ann doll as a gift from her mother, and her mom got it from just a hobby store.
Yeah, and she's 25 whenever she gets this gift. So she's a nursing student. It's not like getting a kid.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an odd gift, but I mean, hey, she may not have been able to give her dolls when she was younger or something. So we don't know.
Yeah, so she just kind of gladly accepted. At the time, she was living in a sort of kind of a small apartment with her roommate Angie. And so she just kind of placed the doll on her bed as decoration, and didn't really didn't think about it after that. But soon after that, Donna and Angie began to notice there was something off with the doll, right? Kind of creepy. The doll would they would leave the doll in one spot and they would come back and it would be moved in the house, and it started off kind of small, whether it was just changes in position, whether it's the arms crossed or legs crossed or something like that. But then, as time went on, the movement, became more noticeable. They would come back and it would be in a completely different room. It would be upright or standing on its feet, just really weird observations as they went along.
And things would be out of place as well. So their initial thought was like that someone was just, taking the piss. They were just coming in, like breaking into their house, just messing with them, maybe stealing things that they didn't notice. So they set up, I don't know if they put tape or string, but they're putting like indicators on doors and windows to see if anybody was actually getting in the middle of the night. Yeah. And there was no sign of any kind of outside entry while this stuff was happening. Yeah. So
it's so weird. Yeah. And they said that it was several times they would leave the doll on the couch, like before leaving for work, and they would come back and the doll would be in Donna's room on the bed with the door closed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
very cool.
Cool is the right. Yeah. not creepy.
I'd just be ecstatic to find a Raggedy Ann doll just moving throughout my house.
Yeah. I bet you would.
I'm gonna get one.
I will not be getting one. But yeah, it I don't know. It's interesting, and part of this podcast is sort of the conjecture and sort of the trying to maybe debunk where we can. But as far as these accounts, it's like either someone's doing it or there's something. I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to prove anything, of course. Pretty much everything that doesn't have a video recording is just a personal account. So yeah, you just kind of you got to have a little bit of belief to believe anything.
Yeah, sure.
But so then after all those crazy events, then they contact a medium.
Yep. And that medium begins to tell them, certain things about the doll, and there's actually conflicting information online about what exactly the medium is able to tell them. Some say that the medium tells them that there's a spirit that possesses the doll that is the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins.
Yep.
That died in a tragic automobile accident.
Yeah. Like outside of where their apartment was now.
Yeah. Other accounts mention no mention of an automobile accident, just the death of a girl and it being connected to that doll in some way.
Yeah. Well, I would like to trust like the original accounts more because the actual like audio, well, not the audio, but the transcripts from the original tapes from Ed and Lorraine when they were talking to Donna and Angie, they stated originally that the medium said that a girl named Annabelle Higgins was found dead in a field where the apartments now stand. Mm-hmm. So no mention of an automobile from the original transcripts. Yep. But several news outlets threw that in there. Yep. Very, very possible that they did it because of the movie, because it's kind of weird to trust some of these articles that came out like in the past decade whenever this happened in the 70s. Mm-hmm. So probably the more credible source would be Ed and Lorraine's transcripts, because those were the cassette tapes. So.
Yeah. So we've gotten into sort of the origin of the Annabelle doll, and as we'll find out, Ed and Lorraine, they tell more accounts of things that have happened around the Annabelle doll and sort of where it's at now. We can save that for the upcoming episodes where we'll talk about the Annabelle movie, and then there's another Annabelle movie.
Yeah, right? Yeah. No, there's definitely a lot more things to talk about with the real life Annabelle doll that we'll save for the next 2 Annabelle episodes. But that was the gist of the origins. 1970. The seance that that's when we learned that, or that's when they learned the
seance with the medium, right?
Yeah, that it was a girl named Annabelle had died, and that spirit supposedly that is inside the doll.
Yeah. So I'm excited to dig more into their real life stuff, because the movies, they don't really affect me, but it's sort of the real life stories. And you've mentioned even hearing before some audio recordings from some of Ed and Lorraine's.
Ooh, man, the real life stuff, it's creepy as hell, because they do some of the things in the movies with their own little twists, but then when you hear or read real life accounts, you're just like, wow, if that were me in that situation, I would have shit my pants on the spot.
Yeah, no, I would be found nowhere near any of this if I experienced something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this was a fun week. I enjoy sort of watching the movie. We have our own little commentary as we go through the movie, but it's nice to sit down and talk through it again and get our thoughts here. I wanted to just make a quick shout out too that I found in the research. Annabelle actually makes brief appearances in a couple other movies, right? So obviously other movies in the Conjuring universe, but also in the DC Extended Universe films Aquaman and Shazam in 2018 and 2019.
Yeah,
because they were produced by James Wan and also David F. Sandberg, who directed this movie. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, just some directors just plugging their IPs. Like, they're just little Easter eggs. Obviously, Shazam's not fighting Annabelle, but they're just little Easter eggs. It's pretty cool. It's always fun when they do that across different universes.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was sort of the breakdown of this week of Annabelle Creation. Again, hope you enjoyed sort of the dive into it, and we'd love to hear your feedback or your comments if you watched the movie, or if you just listened to this without watching the movie, and if you're going to watch it now, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. You can find us on most socials, but I think Facebook, Far From Qualified on Facebook, is a good way to get in touch with us. Mm-hmm. We also have Twitter. Tweet at us at FFQ Podcast there.
Yep.
And just keep supporting the show. If you know a friend or family member that likes this kind of genre, and I know we're getting close to Halloween and spooky season, so
perfect timing.
Yeah, great timing to get into some.
And another thing, we also post the episodes on YouTube, and that's also where we post bloopers and stuff.
Yeah.
So, because we say a lot of stupid things that don't make it into the episodes.
Yeah, Far From Qualified on YouTube.
Yeah, Far From Qualified. Same everything.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys for listening. We hope you'll stick with us through these next few weeks, and hope you enjoy the ride.
Or don't. Whatever. Do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm just kidding.
Well, I care. Do it for me. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
I'm just kidding. Appreciate it, guys. We will see you next week.
See ya.